We greet our friends everywhere with Chapter 2 of Thunder in the Heather, the story of John Knox. This is another in the series, Stories of Great Christians, and is brought to you from the Moody Bible Institute in Chicago. Almost nothing is known about the early years of the life of John Knox. It isn't until the dreary winter of 1545 that he leaps from obscurity into the hard light of history. Now in his early 30s, this unknown Scottish notary priest accepts a position as tutor in the family of Hugh Douglas, a Protestant lord. For Knox, this is a seemingly insignificant change in a nondescript life. Yet it's the beginning of an explosive chain of events that is to lead him to the forefront of history as the champion of the Scottish Reformation.
I canna copy this page over again, Master Knox. It's the last sheet in the book.
And since when can't your father afford a new book for you? You know where they are, in the cupboard.
But there's only one bit of ink on the page. I was careful not to spill it
But not careful enough. By today there were to be no mistakes in your book. Now, Francis, the new book.
But one little block.
One little block is like one little sin. It cannot be overlooked for its size.
I finished all my sums, Master Knox.
Well, let's see them. And sit up straight, lad. You'll never bear the pipes on round shoulders, you know.
It's too hot by the fire. It makes me sleepy.
From the looks of this arithmetic, you aren't even awake, lad.
Master Knox, too bad it's supper time.
Well, I don't mind staying a bit while you write out the page again, if it's all that bad.
Master Roberts never kept us after 5, Master Knox.
Oh, we can't be late for supper. We'd get a caning.
Is that so? Well, you're hard done by, little men. I suppose you'd best hurry away then, hadn't you? But remember, tomorrow there'll be no wrong answers and no wee blots, or we'll stay until bedtime if need be.
Good evening, Master Knox.
Good evening, Master Knox.
Good evening.
Come in.
Good evening to you, Mr. Douglas.
Oh, yes, Mr. Knox. I'm pleased that you accepted my invitation for a little after-supper conversation. Please seat yourself.
Thank you.
Pull your chair in toward the fire a little more. I'm afraid you picked a drafty spot.
It suits me well enough. I'm not a man given to particulars of the comfort of the flesh.
Yes. Well, how are the boys doing with their learning?
They're slack and they dislike the books.
Well, I hope you will remedy the situation, sir.
Aye, it is my intention.
Mr. Knox, you're obviously not a man who hides his thoughts behind words. I hadn't intended to speak to you about this matter this evening, but perhaps it would be best to speak frankly.
There is no better way to speak.
Why don't you like me, Mr. Knox?
That's a strange question from a great lord like yourself, put to his bairn's tutor.
You disappoint me. You didn't give an answer.
I can like no man who is traitor both to his kirk and to his country.
I thought so. Then tell me, which is the greatest loyalty, to the kirk or to God?
They ought to be one and the same.
Come on, man, your eyes are open. You know our kirk is riddled with corruption and hypocrisy.
I know that God's judgment will fall upon traitors and heretics as surely as it will fall upon any evil of the kirk.
And I'm a heretic because I cannot remain loyal to a kirk whose slogan is every man for himself and no man for God, whose priests wink at their own sin while they wag their fat fingers at the sins of common folk, whose bishops care only for their fine clothes and French delicacies, where power is the driving force behind every move the kirk makes? Oh, no, Mr. Knox. I cannot believe you really believe me to be a heretic.
The answer to these conditions cannot lie in false doctrines and English alliances.
You have a strange fixation about England.
If love for this land of Scotland be strange.
I care as little for England as you, or for her high ambitions to encompass Scotland within a realm. My family have been rulers in Scotland for generations. Surely I would be made to give up my power to an English crown.
Aye, so I would think. Yet ye hope to join with other lords to overthrow our king and country.
But not for England, Knox. It's for the freedom of this land and her people. With a new government, cleansed and invigorated, with the Bible open for all to read, the people will return to order and decent living. Don't you see? Scotland will be strong again to resist the English.
And the wiles of the devil?
Yes, yes.
I do not know, Mr. Douglas. There is much to think of in what you say. It's true, I have deep misgivings about the Kirk.
That is how we all started on this path.
I must give what you say serious thought.
Mr. Knox, not what I say. Turn your thoughts to the Scriptures. The Word of God must be the authority for answers to these times. We have left it too long.
With thanks for your hospitality, Mr. Douglas, I'd like to be taking my leave.
Certainly, Mr. Knox. But there is one more thing.
More sermon for the priest?
I've spoken to you as a friend. In fact, openly enough to get me burned at the stake if you care to pursue matters to the Cardinal. Surely I've not offended you in this?
No, I cannot say you have. It was a poor jest.
And taken poorly. I'm sorry. There's a preacher to be coming to Longniddry for a period of weeks. I'm expecting him to be staying here. Perhaps you'd care to meet him. His name is George Wishart, a prince of a man who cares for nothing save the souls of the common folk.
Wishart?
You know him?
No, I saw him once in Haddington. Good night, Mr. Douglas.
Good night to you, Mr. Knox.
Looks of this bed, Master Knox must be having nightmares.
Oh, wait now, till I get my side tucked in.
That's better. You're right. The bed's a mess. What do the men care? They didn't have to do the tidying up.
What's he like, the new tutor?
He's of no account. Short with black hair and a skimpy little beard.
Just a frail wee man.
Not so frail, I didn't think. His shoulders are broad enough and he's got a look about him. Wouldn't take a boot in the britches from any man.
All the children would tell me that he has a long pinched nose and never laughs.
He keeps to himself too much. And I think he stays up half the night. That or he's afraid of the dark.
Oh, how do you know?
I see his candle burning when I come to bed. And in the morning, long before it's light, the miller says he sees it burning.
There's strange goings on in this castle all the time. Sometimes I think I'll go back to Edinburgh.
Not me. I like a bit of goings on.
More than a bit, Margaret Melrose. More than a bit.
O God, vengeance is thine, and righteousness. And thou seest the wickedness of our land and our kirk. I am of no account, nor would any to whom thou hast given power in government and kirk heed me. I have no mind to become fuel for the fire by declaring my private opinions. Where would be the good in that? And I do not know which way to turn. Show me the answer. O Lord of hosts, let thy voice be heard, not only in my own soul, but throughout this dear land. I pray not for the world, but for them which thou hast given me, for they are thine. I have given them thy word, and the world hath hated them, because they are not of the world, even as I am not of the world. O righteous Father, the world hath not known thee, but I have known thee, and these have known that thou hast sent me. Aye, the true kirk is not an organization of men, but an invisible group of God's children called out of the world. This is the kirk, and it is not corrupt and evil. The Lord Christ chooses his disciples and continues to choose them. The true kirk is not the great machine I am in. It is a spiritual company known only to God. Oh, I see, thanks to God, I see.
Margaret, come and see. Mr. Wishart's coming with a great crowd, shouting and waving canes at him.
Wonder you scallywag, you put out the fire. Do you want us all to die of the cold?
He's coming up the hill. Oh, Margaret, they won't kill him, will they?
I didn't know, but I think we'll all die of the cold. So what is the difference?
What are you shouting at, Richard Douglas? You're to be at your books.
Oh, Master Knox, come in. Mr. Wishart is coming up the hill with a great crowd after him. Margaret says she doesn't know if they'll kill him.
I did not box your ears for a wicked tongue, sir.
It's difficult to see.
He has some friends with him to keep the crowds back. I wouldn't want to get in the way of those swords.
Oh, he'll be all right now. He passed through the gate. Oh, look at the people fight to get in.
They'll never get past McPherson.
Pardon me, Master Knox. Mr. Douglas is inquiring whether you'll come down and welcome Mr. Wishart with him and the others.
Thank you, I will go down.
I'm coming too.
You'll stay at the books.
There now, scamp.
When I return, I expect the lesson learned, sir. No errors.
Mr. Douglas, sir. Mr. Knox is here.
Oh, come in, Mr. Knox.
Thank you for inviting me to come down.
Mr. John Knox, my pleasure to introduce you to the leading preacher of the Word of God and the new faith in Scotland, Mr. George Wishart.
And so we conclude Chapter 2 of Thunder in the Heather, the story of John Knox. This is another in the series, Stories of Great Christians, brought to you from the Moody Bible Institute in Chicago.